Anybody know how Betsy's doing?
She's good. I think she'll be here. We're good on that.
Will we talk about that? I told Kelly Cook that I would attend that thing on the 13th. Did we get together, the three of us, to decide, are we
Ginger
gonna
has
talk about
actually
the
just
things?
got dipped back in the waters.
I've got on that for tonight, if you want
Okay,
to
yeah.
review an update.
Yeah.
That'd
Yeah,
be
'cause
fair.
it'd be nice to
Can I have one
have
of
a
those two this year?
presentation to show
Similar
all
last
the different, you know, when it's
Right,
going.
so last year.
Yeah, it's just nice.
Can have different things
We
to
always
talk
say we go
about.
through kind of waves for each kids. I think right now we're on the.
You know, we got the invitation
Closer to the top of that, yeah.
to.
Talk to that leadership,
Yeah.
JC.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this.
Some-
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that is true.
yeah, we all three talk about something different.
Oh.
It'd be nice to get a presentation together, you know, that I mentioned.
Feel like you're ready for Freedom
before,
Fest?
different buildings,
Well,
different things we're working on.
Let's see, 2 weeks.
So we could-
If we're not,
Right.
we'll have that.
I had some pictures, but we can get.
I think we're ready. We've got a lot.
But anyway, somebody we can get together and work on, or
Sometimes it
somebody
gets
put
us when we're thinking,
together a nice
Then we're just a
presentation,
little
so
over
we're
the
not
top.
just up
Like
there
I said, yeah, back there.
standing.
Yeah, we get through it, everybody's like, okay, we're happy, everybody's happy, we make our, you know.
Okay,
Make it.
it's 2:00. We're ready to start our work session on budget presentation, so the extension would like to come forward.
Absolutely. Before we get started, I did want to hand out a couple of making a difference reports from the state level and our local level, which is tucked inside there. Just glazing the impact that we in Extension try to make. And so I think during our time together, we'll be doing two budget presentations. The first being for the Extension group, and the second being for the Geary County Food Fair Board. So any and all questions about those we can address here. But for our extension budget request, as you look at that request, it outlines the things that we do. You can see that in our Making a Difference report. Our budget request this year comes to $390,500. That is roughly an increase of around 7%. The two biggest areas of need we wanted to highlight for you as you look at those percentage changes, our budget worksheet that our state uses gives us a clear idea of where those increases hold. And two of the bigger ones, as you look at this expenditures line, comes to the equipment line, which we estimate to be a 24% increase from around 13,710 last year to 17 this year. We are operating with a 16-year-old vehicle, a van, which has done us great work over the years, and she's getting ready to retire. And so that's one of our vehicles that we transport youth into several of our events. And so as time goes on, we just want to make sure we have a safe, effective vehicle to get youth to where they need to go. Our 4-H program does great work around the state. And so that vehicle gets them there, as well as doing some of our other work with SNAP Ed, youth development, and even agriculture. So that line for equipment is raised there just to compensate a little bit to make sure we can address that aging vehicle. And then the second line is just the educational support, program support, which sits at about 26% increase, just a raise of about $3,000. One of the things we pride ourselves on Extension is that our programming is relevant, but also accessible to our consumers. We do programs such as our Medicare consulting, which is free. But to do some of that things, we do have to offset that, and we would prefer to offset that on the back end, so that way a low-cost alternative or free alternative for consumers to come into our office and take advantage of those programmings occurs. And with the price of things going up, that line reflects that. So overall, 7% increase is what we're requesting at $390,500 Just a recap of the last year, we've had some great work. We onboarded a new fax agent, who I think now all of you have gotten to meet, which is great. We estimate we reach around 4,200 people a year by direct programming, and then roughly 20,000 every year through indirect programming and educational efforts. So we feel like we are a great service to the county. We appreciate all the support we get from the county itself. In fact, we are celebrating 100 years of Geary County Extension. Yesterday was the official 100th year, which is exciting to make it to that point at all. It was funny enough, one of our former extension agents, Lisa Eichel, commented that she was actually one of the first county agents in the state who was fully supported by this county. There was a time when there was a need for a new agent and the state wouldn't provide, so the county stepped up, and I thought that was a cool fun fact for our 100th year as we go, and thank you for your support this past year and look forward to it the next year.
So with that said, we had a discussion about, are you doing any kind of celebration?
Yeah. We anticipate doing a small get-together this fall. Once we get past the fair season, we'll have some banners in the free fair, or in the 4th of July parade, just acknowledging that with our king and queen candidates that ride there for the 4-H program. So a little public facing there, and then our plans is to host a small get together this fall into this early winter.
Yeah, I think you ought to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, it was fun going through some of the, and still going through some of the old photos. I bet we could find Keith somewhere if we worked hard. But that's for sure.
I got another question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned SNAP Ed, and from what I've been hearing, the federal cuts, how is that going to affect?
It's a great question. So we house 2 SNAP Ed agents in our office, adjacent to our office. Renee is their program manager. And so we anticipate with those 2 positions, their funding is separate from this funding altogether. They are federally funded through a grant process. And so they have been put on alert, and they should know after the 5th of July, whether or not they will be continuing into next year, or whether their work will stop this year. We really appreciate that program. It's provided us great work here in the county, especially at the youth development level, and even at our growing farmers market, of being able to talk to folks about how to eat healthy, how to cook healthy, how to shop properly. So we anticipate knowing more after the 5th of July about whether that program will be continuing and at what level. If that program doesn't continue, we anticipate scaling back all of the equipment. Renee can maybe talk a little bit more about it too, but we anticipate the equipment just staying put and maybe in the future coming back in a different form. Renee, what am I missing?
I think Kyler really has covered it well. We just don't know a whole lot, unfortunately.
That's why I asked.
Yes,
that's right.
well, thank you for asking too. They do provide a great benefit. That's well over $100,000 grant that comes to us with the services, but I just don't think anybody knows, unfortunately.
Well, and we provide the space for you.
Exactly.
Yes, you do.
So-
Yes,
Exactly.
thank you. Yes.
Absolutely. So yes, we'll know more come this first week of July, and we'll be able to report back about what that looks like.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I don't have a question. I
Sure.
just, until I became a commissioner, I had no idea what the extension office did, and it is amazing how many things you are involved in and what a service it is to our county, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all do a great job.
Appreciate working with you. Any other questions about the extension?
Yep, you did.
Okay, excellent. Well, next we'll move on to the Fair Board. And so the Free Fair's request is pretty simple. As you know, Free Fair is coming up here next month. We invite you to attend. There will be some formal invitations in the mail. But the budget request from the Free Fair Board just remains flat at the $19,750. And so they can do good work. They have great volunteers who make that happen to allow for some of those lower cost things to still occur at the Free Fair. That will be July 20th through the 24th this year. And this funding will be through next year's fair. You can see there is a budget allocation there from the past 3 or 4 years and how that has changed. One thing that, as you look at their budget, has changed in the past 3 years. There was a time during COVID where they were able to save up some money because of the circumstances of the years themselves, and that money was then put back in to assist and the replacement of the beef bar roof, which occurred last year, which they very much appreciate. We very much appreciated last year during the fair, and I'm sure will this year. So that's why their savings are back to their regular point in time now, and back to really just operating off of this figures to make a great fair happen.
And having that big fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will happen.
You wouldn't think because it moves slow, but
Yeah.
as long as it's moving that air, it does help.
It is a recognizable name, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other questions about the free fair?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to join you. We appreciate all the support we have, and we really look forward to working with you all in the future.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
Is there anything you need from me? Thank you.
Yeah, Chris?
We're ready.
Ma'am. Sure.
Yeah, well, you didn't call me the other name.
Well, yeah.
Just tell me, change the slide, I'll change the slide for you.
Okay, okay. Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Nate Butler and Bob Story, with me, co-chairs for the Freedom Fest Committee, and we're excited to be here to ask you for continued support for our activities that go on each year, and looking at 2026 and planning for that, which is an important year because it's our 250th anniversary of the United States of America. So we're expecting to put a lot of emphasis into next year where it goes. One of the things that we look at is our mission of Freedom Fest. The mission of our Freedom Fest, the bottom line mission of Freedom Fest is to throw a party. And that's what we do. We throw a big party for 5 days. But we don't only just throw one party, we actually throw 3 parties. We throw the Balloon Festival, the Mud Bog event, and then also Freedom Fest downtown here in Heritage Park. So it's not just one event, it's more, we continue to seek the additional ways, additional opportunities to throw parties. We're looking at, do we add something in the fall to be able to garner some more financial support or fundraising through that. So we just want to make sure we keep the mission at the forefront of everything that goes on. Our goals for 2026 is to celebrate the 250th birthday with a festival that when people leave there, they know that that's a festival for for Junction City. I want it to be, I want people to think that this is something they want to be a pilgrimage to every year. And we have people that come from all over the state to this event. We have people come from Nebraska. I don't know if they're just out at Acorn hanging out, but they come from Nebraska. We've had them from Oklahoma. We've had them from Missouri. People that I know that I've talked with about it, that have traveled in for it because they've heard of the event going on. One thing, there is a paper in the back of your book. There's a magazine that comes out. It's called the Destinations, and Freedom Fest is in the Destinations. It is a United States-wide publication that goes out, and it's sent out, I believe, every 2 months, and it's talking about destinations for 2026, and it's specific and highlighting the Midwest in the Destination magazine, and it specifically lists, and we've highlighted in there, Freedom Fest Junction City. So kind of excited that the word is getting out all over about who we are and what we're doing, and the fact that it's just, we hope that it will continue to bring more people to our community for what we do. Fund request, just kind of a quick breakdown. Our budget is a working budget and it's continually evolving. We start out the year with a anticipated budget, and then we hope to work up to that based on fundraising events that we do, and then also philanthropy and other people willing just to support the whole event. Our amount requested from the county is $10,000 again for 2026. We estimate that's going to cost somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 to put the event on next year. We have some carryover. We try to have carryover from this year to next, because that helps us get our events kicked off. So we do expect this year our receipts should be around $185,000 for the event downtown. We believe it's going to cost us roughly $150,000 to $160,000. So we're hoping to have about a $30,000 carryover. That carryover will allow us to schedule the stage. Stage alone is about what? How much is it? $26,000 just to get the stage set up. So we like to do that. We can get things early on, get them booked, so we don't take a chance of losing the experienced providers that we have that come, because we have very good providers for those things. And so we expect this year to be a little bit more expensive possibly because it's the 250th anniversary and what we do. We'll continue to drive on that, but also look to keeping it as affordable as we can to make sure that we can do that. The use of the funds, our funds that we receive is used for a lot of things. Most of the early on funds are used for advertising and setting up contracts with our entertainment and our stage. We do half at the beginning and half usually when they get here. Some of those change varies on the different entertainment that we have. But a lot of the entertainment we have are $10,000 right out of the bottom, right? That's just the baseline for them. So we have to initially have that funding up front to be able to pay those 50% down or 25% down, whatever it is they require, and then be able to finish it at the end. But there's a huge impact that Geary County receives from this. Right now, we expect about 70 to 80 rooms will be booked by just our entertainment. And that doesn't include those who do it on their own, because there's some that it's in the contract, they take care of their own rooms, or they go out and they have a big vehicle and they stay out at one of the resort areas, or one of the trailer areas. And so that is brings it in, not to mention any kind of food sales and sales tax that goes on. They should be paying the sales tax on that. We do expect that, and hopefully next year it'll be more. One of the things that I'm making the assumption here, so I do add an assumption that many of our families will not be going back home to mom and dad when, our family members, when their soldiers deploy. But we do have a lot of soldiers that come down to our events. And so the assumption I'm making is that they will stay here, and hearing what some of the things that the command group are saying, they expect the far majority to stay here and not go home during the deployments that are expected next year. So there is some sales tax expected from that. I would hope that next year we'll have 50,000 plus in attendance to our event. We've tried to do a fence, around the area so we get a good count and figure out where people come from. Haven't been able to kind of work that out right over the last couple of years. I'm hoping this year we'll maybe have a little bit better ability to gather that information. We did surveys last year. I don't know if you want to talk about any of those.
Yeah, we did. So we did about 100 surveys that we had some high school kids do for us, where we had questions, where they came from, how many days were they coming to the event, how much money were they spending every day. And the average person stayed about 2.5 days to 3, right in that area, or they were coming back to the event. Most people spend between $50 and $75 a day. And then where'd you come from? The most of them, came from Junction City area, Geary County, but it went out probably about 30 miles. The surrounding area, we had in Council Grove, Clay Center, Salina, a little bit from Topeka, but not as much Topeka as we did the western part of the community, extended community, Fort Riley, of course. So when we looked at that and you add up everything that was, with several hundreds of thousands of dollars that should have come into the community with sales tax, with what they spent downtown. Now, a lot of the money they spend with the vendors, of course, doesn't stay here. It goes back out, but we really harp on those guys that they have to have their sales tax. They can't come if they don't. They have to have their sales tax. We kind of follow up on that because that is where we give back to the community. They all do stay in the community for that week. So the hotels and stuff, and we found that there was one reunion last year that people were here for. We do encourage that kind of stuff to try to help them, with hotel rooms and stuff. So, we're trying to figure out what the real impact is, and it's really difficult to do that. CBB was helping us last year, but it didn't really do. We kind of fell through a little bit with it, and they didn't have a way to do it. So again, we're working with them this year.
Okay, because you got a new director.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a lot, I shouldn't say better, but maybe more understanding of what we're trying to accomplish and see. She looked at the numbers, and I've already met with her several times, but looked at the numbers of what we did last year and how we can put that together. They did it years ago when Cecil Aska was on the committee with us. And the impact to the community was, like $150,000 that came in like 3 days. So, the impact is bigger than what we see sometimes, but we'll try to get that better this year. And we'll work with the CVB to do it.
Yeah. And Datify. We still have Datify.
Yeah.
So,
I think the biggest part, it brings exposure to Geary County with people coming in from where they do, because, where I'm at, people I talk to oftentimes won't come to Geary County, they come to the county, but they won't come to Junction City for whatever reason. And I was talking with Council Grove councilman, and they said that they're not doing fireworks this year. And so we're going to be advertising down there. And I said, please come to Junction City. We're going to have great fireworks followed by the motocross guys are gonna do a jump after the fireworks this year in the evening. So it's gonna be quite fun. Just some quick resources and funding. Next slide there for good. Not only did we approach the Geary County Commissioners, but we also get funding from other city entities, other Geary County entities that are out there. We have private corporations and individuals. Many of those do not like to be recognized. They don't want their names out there. They are trying to be private about that. And I do understand that. I had a gentleman about a week ago, stopped me and said, "Hey, we haven't given anything. How much you need?" We told him, and he said, "I'll write you a check tomorrow for a certain amount of money." I said, "Well, thank you very much. I was not expecting." So we do have carryover. Again, that is so important for us. One of the things that we do not want to do is overspend and have debt that we have to make up. That is really detrimental to an organization and an activity like this, to have to go into it already in the hole, and you got to make that up first to be able to get anywhere else. We did have 2 fundraisers. The next slide, please. And these fundraisers, one of the questions we ask each other is, how are we going to outdo it next year? Because they were just tremendous this year. Bob kept our funding, our accountant and accounting on that. I don't know if you want to say anything about these two.
I mean, they were just outstanding, especially the balloon thing was surprising.
That was fun.
How do we do it again and make it better? What do we do? We almost, Nate and me both talked about, because it's a lot of work for a one-day event. And how much money do you bring? We almost canceled it. So it was, oh man, we're gonna have to do all this work. It was well worth having it, and I think it was just something different, in Junction City, Geary County, that, and it was just awesome. And we added to it with the parachuters, so we're always looking for some, Dad, maybe Willie will bring a plane out, and we can do something there. But we talked about trying to pair up with,
He loves to do that.
he would do it, I know. But we tried to pair up with the young people at the airport, and it just doesn't work out on timing. So we're still looking at that. I don't know what that group is called, but they have that fly-in.
Uh-huh.
But the kids, and they would love to add something, but then you almost have to clear all those folks out and then bring in the different, because the gate, makes money for us. And charging for people to get into that event, because then they get to see other things for free, is important. So I don't know, we don't know how to do it, and we're still working with them, because I think it'd be really neat to combine it. And the Mud Bug, I don't know if you guys went out to that, just what a crazy event that people come out and enjoy. We doubled the crowd this year that we had last year out at the Mud Bug. On the balloon, we about tripled the crowd. But on the Mud Bug, we had an excess of 800 people that paid to get in. Last year we had like 400 and something. So it was just outstanding. People enjoyed it. We have on both of those things, we do our own food, we do our own drinks, so that we're capturing as much of the money. On the balloon thing we found out a couple of years ago, we had vendors come out. We made about $4,000 more that our organization, that we could keep. We try to do these events so that we're not out here just begging the community for money. That is one of the hardest things, going to businesses and asking, or to you guys. So we do other things, so we show that we're not just not doing something, and it adds to the community. It just, my biggest thing is, what can we do to Junction City, Geary County, to make us nice and good? So those things were great.
It's about 15 to 20% of our budget comes from these 2 events. And so that's a big impact.
Were you talking about combining the fly-in with this event?
That's what they talked-
That's usually the first weekend in June.
In June, correct.
At this weather, it's nice for something like that in the early part of May. Weather's a little different, but still the cooler might prompt more people to come out.
So they've talked about moving it into May, to try to think when we could go a little bit later, maybe in May. So we've been talking with them and combining exactly that, the fly-in. June just puts us in such a time crunch of what we do.
But we'd have to suspend anybody flying in if you have the balloons there, right?
The only one we have a certain time.
Just the.
Correct. We never shut the main airport down, just the grass runways, where they come in on that side, is where we keep them.
Even when the parasailer.
No, then it was closed down.
Gotta
Right.
figure, I was like, there's no way they were gonna have that in there, but that was really cool.
Right,
And it was planned by
So
both of us.
glad.
right?
Yeah.
I was so glad that I was there when they came in,
Yeah.
because that was really.
The
cool.
parachuters and the paragliders type things, they have a window they can do it in,
Yeah.
and it's closed down for that window. Now the grass runway, and that's where we try to do most of it, it's closed down from noon on.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got, just to kind of close here, we've got a great event this year. We encourage you to come out not only one day, come out every day, enjoy some of the good food, enjoy some of the fun. We've got great bands. If you're a Toby Keith fan, a little Red Solo Cup kind of guy, Raul, come on out. I think the guy is going to be phenomenal. If you haven't seen his promo out there, Bob worked really hard to get all of our entertainment set up, all of our bands and our sideshows set up. And this year we've got tremendous sideshows. And so I'm going to encourage you to, if you haven't taken a ride in a helicopter, come out and ride the helicopter again this year. It'll be set up. I know that it's a lot of disruption downtown with all the things that go on, but I do believe it's worth what we do out there. I guess to close, I'd just say that Freedom Fest, our board members on Freedom Fest look forward to continued partnership with the Geary County commissioners, and we look forward to the future and what it holds, and just ask if you have any questions.
No.
I don't have any questions. Thank you all for stepping up. I know this is a lot of work and, you know, you guys don't get paid. This is all free and that's, I mean, I think that's what makes Junction City, Geary County great is the people that truly care about our community and want to do things like this to make it better. So I appreciate it.
Bobby, I think.
I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
We warmed them up for you.
Roy, you ready?
Good. I don't remind me.
My name's Roy Garrett. I'm here representing Voyager 1029 of the 40 and 8. I was hoping to have the new chef de gare with me, Danny Lohr, but he had a VA appointment in Manhattan, and when you get those, you don't want to miss them.
Yep.
I want to start off by saying we want to really thank you for the support that you gave us in the 25 budget. We're still trying to do the same things that we've always done. One of our biggest projects is the nurses training. Our last nurse just graduated with her master's degree. We're taking applications now, and we're hoping to have at least 2, if not 3 nurses that we'll support. We'll give them $1,000 per semester scholarships. Our last big event was the Memorial Day service that we had at the Opera House. We had a whole lot more attendance than we've ever had, and I think that was in part to the support from you guys, plus we joined the Chamber of Commerce, and the MAC was a big support of what we did. We will be putting on a ceremony on Veterans Day for the veterans, and then we'll have our annual Veterans Day dinner that night. Last year, we served in excess of 300 soldiers and their spouses. We've started now. We don't just give the meal to the veteran, we also give it free to the spouse. So they put in as much work as the active duty soldier does, or the old veterans. But,
Roy, I'm not real familiar with this, to be honest with you. So what does the title stand for?
the 40 and 8,
Yeah.
it was started after World War I. In France, to transport the troops to the front line, they used boxcars, and the boxcar would either hold 40 men or 8 horses. And that's the reason it's called the 40 and 8.
Oh, 40 Handy. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
When it first started, it was part of the American Legion, but back in the 60s, it became its own entity. When it initially started, you were invited to be a member of the 40 and 8 when you did over and above in the American Legion. It's still an organization that is invitation only. You just can't ask to be a member. You have to be invited to be a member.
I'm glad you asked that question because I never knew what 40 was.
A lot of people don't,
Yeah.
So, but it's really helped since we joined the MAC. So
Yeah,
Sergeant Major Wilson is,
Good.
he's doing a good job.
and Nicole
Yes.
Nicole does a lot of good work.
They do.
And we're still putting, supplying flags for the, for Heritage Park. And that's a pretty large expense when you buy those large American flags and the POW flags. And we have to switch them out 2 or 3 times a year. Is there anything I can answer for you? I know what I do here isn't very professional, but that's as good as I can do.
You're good.
You got nicer handwriting than I do.
Yeah.
Well, I know It's a good thing they quit cursive, because I quit doing cursive years ago. I can print and that's about it.
I still do cursive.
I don't.
My signature isn't even cursive anymore. It's
You just put a
mixture.
couple X's.
Yeah. It's a mixture of that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you do for the veterans.
Well, I appreciate all
You know-
that we get from you guys.
And looking back, I think the first year you came to us, I don't remember. But
It was
I know
3 years ago, and it was after the budget process was
Yeah,
done.
and we all
you guys all
contributed.
stepped up and supported us with
yeah,
a
yeah.
personal check, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And I remember that well. So now I'm glad you got an official request.
Yeah.
So, nope, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Get back to work.
Thank you. Today is my day off,
Oh.
sir.
Dang it.
I work Saturday.
Okay. Good for you.
Hey.
Hello.
Well, gentlemen, you ready?
Sure.
You're getting to be a regular here, you know?
I know. Talk, right? Okay, Jason Lancaster, Junction City Fire. This is Ken Mossberg with Junction City Fire as well and EMS. So we're here to present the budget to you guys, even though we do have correct an agreement.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
right?
was kind of wondering.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's three yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
You got our signature.
Yeah, well, I know. So, but no, just a heads up and previous from our sheet that we've done before with you guys. You guys all have this one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I could just go down, highlight some of the things that we are looking for and looking to increase on 2026. So salaries and wages on line item 520, 3 staff. Right now, we're in the negotiations with the city as well as the bargaining unit for us, and do 3, 3, and a 3. And then the last 3 would be our 3 battalion chiefs, because hopefully by then we'd be big enough to where north of town, we would start to work on Fire Station 3. So that is the plan. We would have then all the staff, we have all the equipment, we have the ground already. It's just building the building. So, and that side of town needs it because of the response time to that gigantic school that we built and everybody built, so. So that was an increase. Also, what increased with that was the health insurance as well with the staffing. KP&F went up line item 555, went up 144,000 with that staffing. We did decrease on 648 motor fuel. We went down. Medical supplies go up. They go up every year. So commodities at the very bottom there only went up 4,750 for the 2026. The back page is the increase. Actually, contract services, we decreased by 256,853. That's we kind of narrowing that down a little bit and trying to gather from last year and the year before of what kind of predicting. That's just like a throwing that rock into the water. What are we predicting for contractual obligations and bad debt? Who will pay and who won't pay? So what insurance will pay. So capital, as you will see, is 408,989. We want to get another med unit and 3 auto pulses like I came to you guys before with your CIP project funds. So we just threw that in there just to show this. We would like to purchase that. We still have a 2012 med unit that needs to be replaced. Kit actually went last week on the med unit that's going to be delivered July-ish. Right now for a med unit that replaced the 2009 one that we had. So once we get that 12, then we can do another gap of 3 or 4 years to get our med units back in line with the capital improvement plan. So,
Have you seen a decrease in like repairs and maintenance?
No.
Because you're not doing as many transfers, no?
no, because they're old.
Oh,
They're
just because
breaking
they're
down.
older.
We have a 2017 that's still in the shop, trying to figure it out. So
So how many med units do you really have? If they were all up and running, how many?
5,
So,
4 are running right now.
And
Or
then
on
you
the-
guys, I know we talked about, I don't know if I know what I'm talking about, but the chassis, you guys talked about doing like a truck chassis and then to where it could be used longer. Okay,
Remounting.
yeah, and has that started already or, oh, I knew we had talked about it. 'Cause
That unit that was gonna be remount the box on a
Yeah.
different chassis, truck chassis, that box has been, it hit 2 buildings and it's hit a guardrail as well. And so it is gonna be more damaged and to replace that than what we're thinking. And we're looking at going away from the truck chassis because we thought previous that was easier to work on because it's a truck front. So they pop the hood, you can work on it. Not so anymore. So the type 1s and 2 or 3s, we're considering going to type 3, which is a little bit cheaper than the truck chassis. So not a lot.
But you can't, can you change out the boxes or not?
On some you can. It depends.
Okay.
Do they last as long?
By
It
then,
depends.
It
yeah,
depends on that too.
So you can replace them, but the replacement process is a little more expensive because they have to fabricate the box and to match it up. So that opening matches up because it's a band matching up to a square. Where if you have the box, you're just picking it up and bolting it down, it matches up easier on the truck chassis. So you have an upfront cost versus an aftermarket cost. So it's kind of 6 one, half dozen the other. You're gonna pay somebody eventually.
Well, the price isn't going down.
Definitely not going down anytime soon.
right. As you can see in the bottom there, so yeah, I mean, but we got an agreement with you guys, but 3,759,239 would be the total revenue, sorry. 1.3. No, yours is 1.9, I apologize. 1.937250 would be what we would ask for. So with that new agreement, you're pretty close, so. You did have a new line on this sheet. Did I answer your question on that?
Which one?
The one I get from Tammy, the request form.
Oh,
I think I did I?
I thought you said there was you added it.
No, you guys changed some wording on one, and I just want to make sure we answered it correctly.
I think so. Tammy?
I didn't see anything that
Oh, okay.
tipped me off.
Yeah, I think you're good. I
Okay.
thought you said you guys added a line and I didn't notice anything, but.
But if there is, you guys know where we're at, so.
Yeah, we're fine.
We did a inventory of our auto pulse, or our monitors, the more expensive equipment, which is about 50 grand a piece with that. And we have 5 that are 2020s and 5 that are 2015s. We're not gonna get 10 anymore. We're pretty much gonna just replace the ones that are on the med units. And then the trucks will have like an AED with an EKG, a lot cheaper. Because before we just recycled those through and just kept them on the fire trucks and in Kent's vehicle. So with that, we're just only gonna do the 5. We'll do really 5 and 2 for the first out 2 or fire trucks, beepers. But this year, we're trying to, like you see that CIP I gave you guys, a month or 2 months ago, for 3 auto pulses, so. And like Britton said, we're not gonna get mad if you put more money in the CIP on your side, so. But yeah, that's what the cost of the auto pulses was, 78,988.74. So when we do one, we do one with batteries, 2 batteries, and a 5-year plan. And that's each unit is 26,329.58. So if you don't do that, we're seeing that the batteries are getting spendy. So that puts 2 batteries with that auto pulse and that service plan that replaces them for pretty much for free if we get the service plan. Yes. Any questions?
No.
Okay, all right.
Just machine it something recently.
Okay, how are you?
Crystal Malchos, HR Director. Took what you guys requested to heart. I've only got 2 mini items on my memo. The only increase I'm really seeking is, as discussed prior, the reclassification of the payroll specialist to the payroll and benefits specialist to identify and recognize the additional duties that she's taken on and education that she's received. And then also there's going to be a decrease in the drug testing and background checks to reflect reduced turnover, specifically in the sheriff's office and public works. That's about it. Otherwise, my budget is pretty much the same as it was last year.
Easy peasy. Easy.
Any questions?
Hmm.
No, I'm glad to see that the turnover is slowing down.
It is, most definitely. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Kent, Jenna? Ready?
I might need to stand and do this. I might need to stand. Teresa, Teresa.
Did you send that?
Yeah,
You did?
because I never did hear from you, which I thought was
I know,
odd.
I looked for him last night, but I couldn't find him. Could you send it to me?
Reminds me.
Uh-huh.
Just
Oh,
tell me when to change that. Okay, I will. I'm trying to think where's the best place to stand with, I have a terrible voice for speaking. Maybe I'll stand up here, sorry. So I'm Jana Williams from the Flint Hills Regional Council, here to present our budget request for 2026. Next slide. Our mission and purpose is to enhance economic viability and improve quality of life in the Flint Hills through regional collaboration. And the purpose of our presentation is to request our 2026 dues, which have remained the same. They will still be $10,531.80. Also, we'll be talking about our value to Geary County and highlight some current and future initiatives. So continuing on to 2026 goals, we'll still be working on our sustainability plan. We'll be updating our regional economic development strategy, which is through our economic development grant, and that's going to happen in 2026. We'll have to go through that whole process again. We'll also be working on advancing our regional grant writing and technical assistance, expanding support for infrastructure, housing, resilience, and entrepreneurship, maintaining our federal and state partnerships for project implementation. So the dues go to support our administrative costs that are not covered by grants at this time. And that includes general administrative staff time, insurance, accounting fees, and audits, which we have every year. And EDA, it also helps with the EDA match, which is $70,000 a year, which is also what does our economic development strategy. And then also any indirect costs, just software and supplies. And so I've sort of redone these numbers from the initial report to show you. So the first amount is some of the value of the services of the grants that we have written this year. We've been working on our brownfield area planning for Junction City. That area plan for Grant Avenue was $85,000.
And then assessments for Junction City will be probably $55,000 or more. Also, we're looking at the Junction City and Geary County Joint Comprehensive Plan, which that budget is at $250,000, and that will go for the next year and a half. We also did the Kansas Water Office Rural Water District 4. We got that grant for $192,000. And we also got the Kansas Water Office grant for Milford for $382,000. And then the last grant was the Milford Towns grant, which was awarded for $10,000, and that comes to $974,000. Of course, we haven't turned in the comprehensive plan grant yet, but that's going to be in the next 3 weeks. And I see no reason why we would ever turn that down. It's non-competitive funding. So the next group in blue is ones that we are currently working on grants. So we applied for the county Forest Service Wildfire Protection Plan grant. That was a $250,000 grant for 5 counties, which included Geary County. Also, we'll be applying for Milford's next step, which is the Kansas Water Office construction grant for their water plant, which is over $2 million. Also, we're working on a city-county EMS SS4A, the Safe Streets for All. And they have asked us to apply for a safety plan and some demonstration technology. And that's at a value of $375,000. And then we're working on a downtown commercial business rehab grant for CDBG, which will be $300,000. So we're looking at $2.7 million in grants coming up. And then we always have our grants that we get ourselves for our members, which is the EVA, as I mentioned. We have the new one that just got awarded a month ago, which is the EPA revolving loan fund cleanup grant, which is $4 million, and it'll be for any commercial property owner who wants to redevelop a brownfield site on Grant Avenue or downtown or really anywhere they would like to apply for it. We will set the interest rates on that. And then also our existing EPA brownfield assessment grant, which is a 4-year grant. We still have a lot of funds left. I'm not sure how much, but that's why I left that blank. We're in year 1 of 4, and then the RLF will be 5 years. So and then we can re-up again on that revolving loan fund. So, well, we just really think that the support matters, and we appreciate your membership, and that it helps with county projects without increasing any local administrative burdens. And also, we have a really long history from a very inception with Ben Bennett, and we've been a member since the beginning. So I'd like to introduce also our Executive Director, Ken Glasscock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the governing body. Thank you for being a member since our inception. You are founding members of the organization, and over the course of the years, we think we've given the county a value proposition. You have given us a value proposition. We have before us our president of the Glen Hills Regional Council, Commissioner Giordano, who's done a terrific job. We want to continue to work with you. The county over the course of the years has been a joy to work with. It's been a great partnership, and we feel very, very good about it. So thank you. Thank you all, and thank you for the relationship that we have built over the course of the years. It's very important to us. We would certainly stand for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, question. So we've kicked this around in the past. Is there any grant funding to handle used tires?
Oh, yeah.
Because years ago, there used to be something that, and it wasn't just for this county, it was Riley County, Geary County, all counties.
Used tires are a problem everywhere.
They are, in the road ditches and all that, but I would just ask to see if there's any grant funding to, through working with all counties' public works, to set up a drop off or whatever.
Does CPA have anything?
I don't know, I'd have to look, but that's.
Let's make it, and Mr. Chairman, that's my fault. You have mentioned that to me before, and I apologize.
No.
Let's, if we could make a note, just see what what is out there.
I'd be curious too, if that's an ICSA,
Oh,
That could be.
that we could do
Oh.
work with Fort Riley. What are they doing with their
that's a
tires?
great
Yeah, I don't know
idea.
how they dispose of theirs.
That might be an ICSA.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, those things, I mean, there's spontaneous combustion that can happen with those things. I mean, it is a nightmare.
Well, and I know, like, in my district, it's mostly rural and, you know, the farmers are always replacing tires.
Well, and they're getting them in their ditches too.
And they
That's
don't,
right.
yeah, they don't like them in the ditches, and I know Public Works don't, and they mow the road ditches. You can't do anything about couches and all that. But, yeah, you might look into
I
it.
will.
That's a great idea about Fort Riley. Any other
That would
questions?
be a great example. I didn't even think about that.
I didn't either till just now.
I don't have any questions, but did you have any questions?
No.
I just want to thank you. Jana, you've done an amazing job, and I know I call you all the time and say, hey, what about this? Or what about that? And you jump on it, and, you know, the value, our return on investment, I feel is, I can't even, you know, put into words how much I feel the small amount that we give to the Flint Hills Regional Council has come back to us tremendously, and that you have really carried not that you're not doing anything, Kent, but
No,
Ken has
she's-
really been
she's-
the backbone
I
of
understand that.
she has been the
We got
backbone
one show.
since day one, and so I just appreciate that, and, you know, I would really like to, you know, maybe work on Grandview joining too.
Yeah, that was a big,
Yeah, just to show them, look
Obvious.
what we've gotten for Milford, and, you know, not only the city of Milford, but the county, you know, in the water district, and there's a lot of monies out there for that.
And they dealt with sewer issues out there.
Yeah. And so, you know, I really think, you know, and I'm looking forward to doing the comprehensive plan as well, and,
Yes.
you know, just, I think right now, Geary County and Junction City, are at a turning point. You know, we're in the best financial shape we've been in a long time. We have a lot of things going for us, you know, new leadership in both the city and the county, and you know, just moving forward, I think is our future is bright, and I hope you guys are with us.
No, absolutely. We're excited about what's happening.
Yeah.
It's really pretty fun.
Yeah.
So, I don't mean to be stupid, but is it still on population?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I was gonna tell Kathy, that's how they do it, is on population, so we pay for just unincorporated.
It's a,
Milford pays for what they have, and Junction pays. So, and I also did want to give a shout out, you know, Jana has also been helping and just reviewing stuff for the DSIP grant and working very closely with, Rob said he's been talking to you quite a bit, so, so thank you for that as well, because I know, that they've been working really hard on that, so.
How long have you been on board?
since 2017, February of 2017.
Yeah, same time I came on commission, because Ben Bennett was always,
Still here.
oh, yeah, Ben was great.
Still
yeah.
Yeah, Ben was great.
'Cause I think
Yeah, and your dues are 10,000 and
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, and look what you're
Yeah.
bringing to the table, so we appreciate it.
And I forgot to mention too, that Milford wants a comprehensive plan with the OLDCC grant. I
Wouldn't
forgot.
that be covered with in the whole, county, or no?
No, because
Okay, Because they're separate from,
they're
okay,
also a member, so they,
so then,
you know, previously we tried to do Grandview Plaza in Milford a few years ago,
yeah,
and they both did not want to do
Yeah.
it, but now Milford does, so
good,
we hope to get engaged with Grandview Plaza again.
okay. Well, Keith is the rep out there, but I'd be more than happy to if you didn't want to.
oh, no, I can reach out to
Good.
Mayor Geigy.
Yeah.
They did, well, we did that military installation resiliency study, they did participate, so
Yeah,
anything that's OLDCC, whether or not they're a member, they are offered.
yeah,
So are you okay with me sharing your number with Geigy out at Grandview?
Sure.
Oh, sure,
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah, and just let us know if you want to arrange a meeting, and we'll do whatever you want to do.
And also if they need a
Well,
Kansas Water Office grant for their sewer issues.
well, they've upgraded recently.
Okay.
I say recently, in the last 5 years. You know, they're more on a lagoon system set up,
Oh, are they?
so Yeah, I'll share your number with him and you can contact him. And then maybe they'll ask you to come to one of the
Sure.
commission meetings.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, we'd both be there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Can't be.
I know.
You
He's a
don't miss
politician,
the,
you know.
Peekaboo part of it.
Not damn bad.
I didn't think so. I'm gonna step down the hall.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I didn't think you did. You served your time.
I did. Did the best I could.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, we went and dropped off some vouchers, so we sell what we sell.
Again? Treats.
We did get a treat from Louisa.
Again?
Mhm.
When, oh, she got another treat?
Mhm.
Is this Louisa? Oh, Lucy, you're
And
gonna
then-
love Louisa so much.
I know, she got a cup at lunch.
Oh, gosh.
Goodness. Wow.
Mhm.
No, that's not treats, I think. It's just Kaylin. One up here. Yeah. You watered up whatever you did and the dog thought it was a treat bag. I know, Kaylin. I get it.
I ordered her some new, 4th of July attire, so.
Oh,
I'm gonna
did you?
give it tomorrow. Some New, collar with some ice cream cones on it, yes, with 4th of July. Some new
Cool.
bows to match it. She looks like a little rat mom today. She looks a mess. Say it's a Monday. Looks like she fits in at community corrections today. She's, Lucy, what are you doing, you silly girl?
She said it's hot outside.
It is hot outside. Am I next? Yeah, Keith's just running down the hall, so, but you can come on up and get a little comfortable with your girl.
She's like, Trixie,
Oh,
what?
I'm sorry, I didn't have any treats.
She's going to. Go to butter to bread.
Mhm.
So Tammy, I have this deposit I need to make, and I know you may know off the top of your head, got so many numbers in there. I have written down account 47883 for juvenile, but Julie has marked down 47881.
So is Lucy making a presentation today?
Yeah, there's 83 and 84, I think are the two you use. Yep.
That's what I thought. I don't know why she has 81.
Dog treats. She gets new bows.
I think,
Well,
yeah.
I've got candy over there.
Okay, so I made two deposit
That's
slips,
probably not good.
so it's 83. So I'll take off the 81 deposit slip.
I'm gonna look just to double check that, I'm pretty sure it's 83 and 84 and.
So when she was putting 81, would those still get deposited?
They were usually telling us that they didn't work and that we would have to adjust them.
Okay, so you were catching them.
Usually because it shouldn't even have worked in there. So 478, you just have 83 and 84, so juvenile is 83 and adults 84.
And then, so what is the opioid dollars? Is it 478.84? Like when I write a check or not I write a check, but when I do a voucher for Doug for attorney
Yes,
fees?
I believe you did put it in 84.
That's what I thought I did too. Okay.
Yep.
Because I know that's, okay. 'Cause I need to bring down my 478 GL so we can look at it because I want to make sure I'm tracking everything correctly.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready, Kristen?
I am. Are you ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. I am here to request the opioid dollars from Geary County for the recovery court for Geary County. The recovery court is a drug and alcohol court that we started actually January 1st, 2025, and it's focused on our high risk, high needs adult drug and alcohol offenders. It is funded through some KDOC, some Senate Bill 123, but there is a missing gap of funding that for this program to continue, we need assistance with. And the opioid dollars fits perfectly into what our mission is for recovery court. But I cannot use any dollars from the Kansas Department of Corrections for the defense counsel that represents our clients in recovery court. Last year, you were able to slot those opioid dollars for the programming. And they were actually, we were just talking about it, it was deposited into account for 7884, and it is being monitored by myself and by Tammy for those funds. But as you can see, the request is for the defense counsel of $26,000, $500 per week for 52 weeks.
Do you understand what the recovery court is, Kathy?
I hadn't, this is the first time.
You might want to explain a little bit, because Kathy wasn't here when because we,
Okay.
it just started.
Yes, so this is, well, I'll back up a little bit. We started recovery court in Dickinson County. We're on our 4th year. And so I wanted to start it in Dickinson County and then model it here in Geary County. This is the 3rd attempt that we've had at recovery court here in Geary County. The first 2 were not able to be successful due to funding. Community corrections relied on the JAG grant or BJA grant, however you want to put it, which is federal funding. But that grant is only good for 3 years. And so if you don't have sustainability after that 3 years, the program, it goes away. And so what I have done and what I did in DK is I use community corrections staff and a lot of community corrections funds for that sustainability. But there are just a few things that I cannot fund the program using community corrections dollars. And so Dickinson County came to the plate, and they agreed to fund my shortfalls. So what we do is, I wish I can send you the participant guide and handbook, and I can send you our policies and procedures. But it's everybody comes to the table. So we have collaboration from the county attorney's office, the judge runs the recovery court. So for Geary County, it's Judge Rozier. So we have the county attorney's office, our office. Doug Thompson is the defense counsel, and we have law enforcement at the table. We have drug and alcohol at the table, and we have mental health at the table. And we meet weekly for phase 1 clients. And so when you come into recovery court, it's the shortest it can be is 14 months because it goes by phases. And the first phase is extremely intense. It's 90 days, and they have to meet a list of requirements. And one of those requirements is to come to recovery court weekly to answer to Judge Rozier on how their week has been. It has been a shock for our Geary County folks. As of last month, we've had better. This May has been better, but as of April, I guess April, because we're in June now, we had only 2 incentives that were used from January to April. And that means that you had a good week without any violations. You were able to, I have a Plinko board, and they're able to put their little puck down and the Plinko board, and it goes down to whatever their incentive is. But we're doing better. I've been able to give out more incentives in May, so we're catching on. So it's been a little rough going, but I think we're getting into a groove. That's it. That's pretty much it. There's 5 phases, because the last phase, then your graduation. At 90 days, 30 days, 30 days. I think. I
How
don't
many
think off the top of my head.
participants are there?
Right now, since we just started, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I'd say we're roughly about 15, because we've just started, and with the sentencings, we're just now getting them, but they're the Senate Bill 123 cases, and then the Senate Bill 123 plus cases, and then revocation cases from court services and off of community corrections. For us to supervise them, if they're a revocation out of court services, it has to be a felony case. A lot of these folks were slotted for prison, and they placed them on community corrections instead. And that's typical how community corrections, that's a lot of who we have. 40%, actually it's quite higher now, of our caseload is downward departures, meaning they were sentenced, should have gone to KDOC or to DOC, but they departed from that sentencing and placed them on community corrections. So this is the most intense, high-structured program you can have. They're on a curfew, which law enforcement has been checking their curfews for us randomly. They are on a Keller code. The jail actually is observing UAs for us on weekends and holidays, which kudos to them. Shout out to the jail. Appreciate them. Shout out to law enforcement. They've been great participants, and community involvement has been really good with everyone that's in that participant or that probationer's life.
What's the follow-up after graduation, or is there?
They're done, but we do follow them, because I'm following, because I want to see what the recidivism is. In Dickinson County, I haven't had any yet.
And you've had quite a few graduates.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very successful.
But
program there.
I know there is a few that are back to their
Well,
old
you're always,
ways.
yeah, that's always, you never.
But the ones that aren't, huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And one of them was supposed to go to prison. He has held his job. He's clean, community member. I mean, and
Is that the one that just graduated like a few months ago? Or the one who they found him in the car, he was telling the story about he got found in the car by the deputy, and he was either gonna go to jail or the hospital.
no, this was a different one.
That was a very touching story.
Yeah, there's been several that have been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think I was around for the first 2 times that they tried drug court, and there was never the entire,
Participation.
yes, of everybody being on the same page of what they wanted to do and how it was gonna be done, and just how having that, I mean, I could see how it's gonna be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And you're always gonna have people that are not, that'll fail, but the ones that don't are the ones that matter.
Right.
They're the ones that
Well, I
you're
think
doing this for.
Dickinson County was a good model.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we were up and going in Dickinson County for 3 years before we started it here in Geary County. And yeah, I didn't know. So just to give you a little history, I was an ISO and a supervisor in the 5th Judicial District, which is Lyon County and Chase County. And we had a recovery court in Lyon County. I want to say it started in 2003. And so a lot of what I have brought to the 8th is what I learned in the 5th. And we've been able to sustain it there for, 25 years. my gosh. I'm old. Anyway, so I just watched my phone, but almost, yeah.
And
So
just to clarify, that's a request from the opioid fund.
I was gonna ask, it
Mhm.
says that the corrections received the allotted opiate money, so yeah, that's
Yeah.
why.
Mhm. Yeah, which is the intent for those dollars is to go into the community for drug and alcohol to address that issue.
I think it's a great use of those funds.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and drug testing is extremely expensive. I think I spent $13,000 on drug testing cups because we drug test at such a high rate that, and the panel has now gone up to, I want to say it was 16, I think it's even gone up higher than 16 drug panel. And so as you increase your panel of how many drugs you're testing for, the price goes up. But it's hard I feel like we're always just chasing that.
Just keeping the pot from overflowing.
Oh, man. Kratom, I mean, all of it. I'm just like, goodness gracious. But anyway, so that's my request. And if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer
Thank
them.
No, I think it's great.
I do too.
And Kathy, if you would ever like to come and just had a recovery court graduation last Wednesday in Dickinson County, that would have been a great one for you to observe. If you ever want to stop in and view the court, we would love to have you in
Those are
Dickinson
on-
County or here.
And they're on Wednesdays, right?
Dickinson County's Wednesdays, Tuesdays is here. So we start staffing at 1:00 over at the courthouse here. And then court starts at 3. And we separate female and male court. So male goes first and then female. Because research shows that to commingle that population, there is not as good of a turnout.
I'll do that.
So we would love to invite any of you. But that'd be great.
They even have people who've graduated before will come and support the people that are
Mhm.
graduating, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I think I read about that somewhere, not too long ago, something, your picture or something was in the paper, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually want to do a follow-up story to that. So, yeah. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
What are you doing over there, Liz?
We're just enjoying her. She said, but I know you're getting ready to leave, don't leave me here.
She is so scared of outside because of all the noises with the jackhammers. I can't get her to go out the front door of the canal building. We have to go out the back and around. She's scared. Hi, Lucy. Noisy.
Sensitive ears. Okay, our next contestant.
They're sitting down there.
I know.
You guys ready?
Come on down.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yeah, you're literally here for more money, I see it.
We've been as kind as we could.
I'm just kidding there.
Good afternoon, Jeremy Myers, Public Works Administrator. Got Kaylin Ross, Administrative Services Manager with me here today. We'll start off with our Public Works 2026 budget proposal. Salaries increased by the potential 4% COLA and step increase. Standby and overtime figures were not adjusted from last year. As we've seen again, the increased snow amounts totals provided the need for the currently budgeted standby and overtime. 3 equipment operator positions do remain frozen for the 2026 budget. Overall contractual line increased only by $7,710. Some reasons for the increase, but not all include intent to purchase a CAT diagnostics program for shop personnel to use with the intent of keeping more of the specialized repairs in-house. In 2026, we will use the 3490 other repairs and maintenance line for our fuel pump system only to better track the expenses associated with repairs and maintenance. And a budgeted amount of $1,000 for training designated to shop personnel was created as well. Looking at all the utilities, we are still building our sense of our expected yearly cost. 2024 was our first year of utilizing building numbers with the line item budgeting in place, and these proved to be very, very beneficial. We only had 1 year's worth of data to analyze with that. We adjusted as needed where we had overages and shortfalls to better predict what 2026 could show. Overall commodities line remained the same, mainly due to adjustments in our budget line. We decreased our fuel budget by $25,000 by evaluating the past 2 years' total expenditures. We are requesting an additional $47,600 on our rock line to cover the anticipated historic 10% yearly increase in costs there. And doing this will allow us to maintain the 100 ton per mile application rate. With that $47,600, it is important to note that we did adjust other lines within the commodities line. So that is not an addition to the budgeted amount. We just worked some numbers in there to put it on that specific line for that increase. Capital outlay budget remains the same for 2026 at $52,000, bringing the Public Works total budget to have a requested increase of $29,987. Any questions on the Public Works budget? Okay. Next, we'll move on to Cloud County Community College. This fund is generated by the lease payments received from Cloud County Community College. We do not anticipate any large dollar expenditures needed in 2026. However, general maintenance of the buildings and the grounds will be a continuing expense. Based off 2024's expenditures and what we expect for 2026, we are able to keep the total expenditures budgeted amount the same at $65,000. Total building expenditures are not split out by each building to not limit the spending authority in this budget. However, we will continue to code expenses with designated building numbers to accurately track repairs and maintenance. Some of the budgeted lines were increased to balance the fund to end in zero cash balance to allow for total budget spending authority should it be needed but not intended. Any questions on that one?
The only question I have, how long a lease agreement do we have with Cloud?
They just signed a 10-year, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
How long?
10 year.
10.
Next one is noxious weed. Salaries increased by the potential 4% COLA and step increase. The contractual line remains flat as no major changes in this budget line are needed currently for 2026. We adjusted a few lines to capture any shortfalls from 2024's expenditures as well as 2025 expenses year to date. We were able to keep our commodities flat as well. Again, lines were adjusted to capture any shortfalls from 2024's expenditures as well as 2025 expenses year to date. As noxious weed is in the general fund, we no longer need to budget for fuel expenses due to past years' chemical purchases. We feel comfortable that it is not a need for an increase at this time in that line either. And there's some chemical purchase data there below 2023, 2024, and 2025.
How come it did decrease like that? Did you?
On 2025, that is a year to date. So that is not total expenses for the year of 2025. Any questions on noxious weed? Parks and Recreation would be next. This fund encompasses parks and recreation and Freedom Park. Public Works is responsible for the Parks and Recreation Fund. Expenditures expected in the fund included the mowing and maintenance of the area, and gas and electric utilities are paid out of this fund, and this figure has been separated out with the building number and codes. The overall expenditure shows an increase as the fund was balanced out to end with a zero cash balance, again, to allow for total budget spending authority should it be needed, but not intended. Questions on that one?
That incorporates the softball field out at Fairgrounds, right?
Yes.
That falls in there.
And that, if you'll recall, a couple commission meetings ago, we were gonna build that retaining wall out of that.
And the horse arena also gets paid out of it.
Yep.
The horse arena also gets paid out of the Parks and Rec.
Next, we have sewer district number 4. The salary line decreased from what was budgeted for 2025 based off 2024's actual expenditures. The decrease in salaries needed for this fund is mainly due to switching from the prior sewer plant to lagoon system, which requires less service time and maintenance. Some figures in this fund were adjusted and will continue to be adjusted moving forward due to the bond payment for the lagoon project. The finance director is tracking and monitoring the revenue and expenses related to these bond payments. A budget line for propane was created to ensure funds are available when the propane tank needs to be filled for the backup generator to operate during power outages. For the lift station, the budgeted amount of $5,000 was removed from the rock and gravel line and placed into other supplies and materials line for expected repair materials needed for the sewer line infrastructure. Again, the overall expenditure shown an increase as the fund was balanced out to end with a zero cash balance to allow for total budget spending authority should it be needed but not intended. Any questions on sewer district number 4?
And just so you know, that debt reserve that's down there, that's for people who paid up front instead of doing the bond payments.
Right.
So since they paid
Yeah.
early, we're tracking those dollars, and they're deployed each year based on what would be owed. So
Next, we would have solid waste environmental. This fund is intended to maintain the landfill cap on the closed landfill site. A new contract started in 2025. That would be that new haying contract that lasts through 2027 at an annual cost of $2,735. This is an increase of $473 per year in revenue. Now, this fund does not have a lot of expenditures, so we were able to keep our expenditures the same from 2025's budget. The spraying and the groundwater sampling at the landfill will continue to be a yearly budgeted expense. Other contractual services lines show an increase. However, this is to balance the fund to zero to allow for total budgeted spending authority should it be needed again, but not intended. Any questions on solid waste environment? Next, we have waste disposal. Salary line increased to reflect the potential 4% COLA and step increase. Our current ham contract ends December 31st of 2025. And due to the established partnership with ham through past contracts, we would like to continue this partnership with a new contract, but will follow all financial policies and procedures. However, to accurately reflect the budget, we did meet with Vice President of ham to gather insight on how their fees will be calculated for a new proposed 3-year contract. Currently, their rates are calculated on a blended COLA for annual price increases, but for 2026, it will be adjusted to calculate the consumer price index all urban consumers or the CPIU plus 2%. This will be adjusted annually based on the increase or decrease to the previous 12 months of the CPIU. Also based on the insight gathered through our meeting with HAM, due to their projected annual increased cost for disposal of waste generated at this facility, normal operating expenses, and to build a reserve fund for future facility expenses. The tipping fee will need to be increased. For budgeting 2026 projected expenses, the tipping fee will increase by approximately 17%, depending on other factors that we don't have control over, like the CPIU. Raising this approximate percentage now should allow this increase to remain in place for the proposed 3-year contract. In our contractual budget, one big adjustment that was made was decreasing the estimated fuel surcharge expenses due to fluctuating fuel prices. This budgeted amount was historically budgeted higher from actual expenses in 2024 and year-to-date expenses in 2025. We feel decreasing this line is appropriate. 2025 decreased from 110,000 to 50,000, and we budgeted the same 50,000 for 2026. So the capital outlay line shows an increase. However, this was to balance the fund to end with a zero cash balance to allow for total budget spending authority should it be needed, again, but not intended. Any questions on solid waste disposal?
Nope.
Thank you. Water District number 2, based off 2024 salary expenditures, the salary line shows a slight increase. However, we are tracking the actual time spent closer to give a more accurate total for future salary budgeting. A figure of $1,500 was budgeted for parts and tools at the chlorination building for purchase of a backup chlorination rejection pump. At this time, at this same building, a new door is needed. We expect to have this replaced in 2026, so a budgeted amount of $5,000 was budgeted for that. As budget line 3625 laboratory fees is no longer needed, the budgeted amount of $6,900 was dispersed between other budgeted lines to help assist with needed and anticipated purchase and repairs. Again, the overall expenditure shows an increase as the fund was balanced out to end with a zero cash balance to allow for total budget spending authority should it be needed, but not intended. Any questions on Water District number 2?
Thank you. I appreciate your memos.
Huh?
I appreciate the memos on each
Yes,
one
ma'am.
of those.
Yes, lots of numbers
Really
that
helped
we,
out a lot. Yeah.
lots of numbers that we looked at and went through. Big shout out to Tammy in finance. She is absolute great help when it comes to this. And if we have any questions, we always get together with her, and it's a pleasure working with her.
Yeah.
Well, historically, a lot of those numbers are pretty inflated, so, with your help and
Yes,
some of
yes.
those and getting more realistic on the numbers, I think that makes a big
Yes.
difference with a lot of that.
All the line item budgeting and tracking of all this information is definitely cleaning it up and getting us to a realistic
Right.
number of what it takes to keep this going. So
Well, it helps you out too. I mean,
it does tremendously. Okay, well, that's all I
Thank you so
have.
much.
Yes, thank you.
I had no idea until I became a commissioner how many budgets you actually did.
Well, the waste disposal
I
is
didn't
the
either.
scary one for
I
us.
thought it was just go out and take care of the roads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, this, and really, I think bringing Kaylin on was, I've just seen such an improvement on the operations and then what you guys present to us on
Yeah.
what is actually happening in the county. So I
Yeah,
think that's,
definitely.
but yeah,
We have built a great team down there. We're still building, and we've
Yep.
got a good future ahead of us.
She's a grant writer.
Yeah.
Oh, you stop at that there.
All right, thank
We
you.
are,
Well,
thanks.
We'll see you this
We are
evening.
thanks.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Courtney. Do you have your memo?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't have a memo? Oh,
I didn't see it. I don't have any changes, really.
Oh, okay.
It's less if anything. All right, so she's got clerk up first, so we can start with there. Personnel was provided by finance, so I didn't do anything. I didn't ask for any special increases or reclassifications. If we go down below to contractual, I've actually decreased some of those by looking back at past years and seeing that we really weren't using what we were collecting for, so I decreased that quite a bit. Under postage, we did put in the 12,000 estimate for the R&R notices, but Tammy did include it at the end for reimbursement as well, because we will get reimbursed for 100% of that cost again this year. Commodities, I decreased that as well, because we just really don't use it that much. And capital outlay, I decreased that as well. So clerk really only went up just a hair because of personnel at the bottom there.
Hmm.
Any questions on the clerk side?
No.
We will see a big decrease this year for 2026 on the election side. Again, I looked through some things from past years, and if we really didn't spend as much as we were collecting, I decreased that. So personnel was again provided by finance. I didn't change any of that. And for postage, I brought that down to 2,500. Next year is a gubernatorial election, and we will have 2 constitutional amendments that will be on there. So we'll kind of have to watch that, because that just came out about the constitutional amendments, so we could see an increase in turnout because of that, but I think we should still be okay. Decreased mileage tolls just based off of history. We really weren't quite spending as much as we were collecting. And same with dues and membership. Brought it down to 3,000 for training, and then for other contracts, kept it the same at 20. Election supplies removed office supplies and put it all into election supplies, because if it's coming out of election, then it should be election specific. And other supplies, I kept that the same. And then as far as capital outlay, I decreased that quite a bit because Tammy has now absorbed equipment into the CIP fund for most of it. So I decreased that 35,000 line item quite a bit down to 1,000, and then 5,000 down to 1,000, just in case they need something one-off. But, so that went down from 269,797 to 212,385.
The contract services under the elections those are just for the election workers, right? Is that what that would be in?
Contract services? No,
Oh, what's that come out of? Where's that?
it could be ES&S providing like on-site support,
Oh, okay.
anything that we're requesting assistance.
Oh, I see. It's up at the top, you have the seasonal. I see.
That's where the employee,
Yeah.
their paid as an employee.
We're still anticipating 2 elections next year, just like we always budget for 2. We know we'll have a primary with the constitutional amendment, and then again, the general in November. So
What constitutional amendments are you talking about?
there's one about being like proof of citizenship for voting in Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other one was instead of, what was it, the Supreme Court appointing people, we elect them?
Oh, yeah,
They just
yeah, yeah.
retained them and now they want to vote.
Yeah, they want to actually elect that, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
But as far as the R&R, you said we get reimbursed.
For
We
now.
still- Yeah, for
Yeah,
now.
probably not very much.
Yeah, as of right, and I just send them my invoice from my vendor, and then they reimburse me 100%, so.
Okay.
And they have it approved for 25 and 26, but then we don't.
Well, until they change it, they need to continue to reimburse us.
There's always rumors that the R&R going away, but not yet.
No, they'll come up with a better mousetrap.
Yeah, something that probably costs us more than that.
No, I'm good. Any questions? Good job.
Well, yeah, thanks for looking at that. I mean, that's exactly why we do the line items. So we can see what the history is.
And we had quite a bit of carryover last year, I think, so. All right, thank you.
I mean, as time goes on, it's gonna be much harder to budget without any wiggle room. But that's all right. We're being more efficient.
Anything else you need from the documents or anything before I shut it off?
No?
Nope, thank you.